Good morning, Rachel. Have you ever been in a market where you had to do all the school closings like 8 times a year?
Oh, yeah, of course. Keeping up with all those. In fact, we had some in our area yesterday. I didn't have to report on them, but yeah, I mean, definitely the laundry list of closings. And these days, though, you can say, well, check it out on our page, too.
Absolutely.
But you like to be able to announce them.
Go to the page, download our app. It'll push right to your phone. So.
Oh, that's the best.
All right, here we go. Mueller's investigation gone absolutely nuts. A disgrace to the nation. Trivia, who said that?
That would be our president saying these things on Twitter. And it really shows that he may know stuff that's going on behind the scenes related to the investigation that the rest of us don't know. There has been talk of indictments related to, say, Roger Stone and WikiLeaks, also Julian Assange. That's in the news today as well, that he might be facing charges in the United States. I would imagine he would just hide out somewhere like he's done before or try to. Yeah, so this does give us kind of a window to the president's state of mind as it appears that there's been a lot of negotiations back and forth on questions that will be asked and things like that.
Interestingly, that we were really looking towards closure here, but now it almost seems like the Mueller's investigation is taking him to some other places that maybe weren't expected, or maybe we're hoping weren't going to go. But is the talk closure right now, or is it expansion?
It seems like it's closing in. The Washington Post has been reporting that the president has met with his attorneys. He met with them Monday, and then again on Wednesday to discuss questions that the special counsel's office wants him to answer. So they've been going back and forth on this. Rudy Giuliani, who's one of the president's attorneys, is questioning the questions, saying that there's no deadline, but the president could give his answers anytime, even tomorrow, he says. But he says there are some questions that create more issues for us legally than others, and that is, again, something he told the Washington Post. He said some of them are unnecessary, others are possible traps. Several could be irrelevant. You've been hearing the president's legal team talking about a perjury trap, that somehow the special counsel is closing in on the president to the point to get him to say or write a falsehood, and then he could be indicted on that. So they're treading very cautiously here, and I think that's why it's partly why the investigation has been kind of dragging on, because these questions back and forth have been the negotiation over the questions has been happening for some time.
Something's up when the president is tweeting and Rudy Giuliani is talking.
Absolutely. Haven't seen Giuliani on the TV circuit very much lately.
It's almost like he took the midterms off and he's back. So interesting. All right, Rachel, enjoy your day. Thanks so much.
You too.
Rachel Sutherland from Fox News. To the local scene, it's the roads are slick this morning. The snow still coming down. We're probably looking at pretty much what they said, somewhere between 6 and 10 inches of snow before all of this tapers off to more of a wet precipitation a little bit later on. We should talk to Rachel Witter coming up in just a little while.
Now, did the forecast change that they were going to get rid of the wet? It was just going to be an all snow event? I thought that was the latest I saw from Rachel last night.
I still think there's a wintry mix expected today.
But it's not part of the storm, though.
Right. Temperatures are going to rise.
They might issue a winter weather advisory, but at this point, that's not the case. At this point, it looks like things are going to kind of taper off, but there is still a chance of some wet precipitation afterwards.
Are you surprised all these schools on delay didn't close? You've been on the road. I haven't been on the road.
Roads are slick, but I think that doing that gives them the opportunity to be able to still close, right?
Yeah, I guess so. In conversations I had with folks last night, I mean, the storm came fast and furious. I am surprised that all these schools on delay are not closed, at least those right here in southern County.
The roads here are treacherous this morning, so be aware that, and I'm somebody that very seldom says, oh, the roads are bad. I kind of enjoy riding in. There's two places I like to drive. I love driving in New York City, despite what Peter Franklin says, and I love driving in the snow. And this was one of those mornings where you really have to slow down because you cannot negotiate a turn. And if you get caught up in the snow that is in the road, it's slick. So coming from me, the roads are slick. I promise you, I'm not an exaggerator when it comes to this.
And I also, with today being a Friday, I would have bet money Utica, Whitesboro, all these schools would have been closed this morning. But
yeah, well, it's early, and they all have that problem of using too many snow days, and come time for spring break, it turns into a debacle because they try to tack extra days onto spring break, and families have planned trips, and it turns into a big mess. Anyway, let's see. Syracuse losing last night. They got stunned by Connecticut. They were 9-point favorites going in. I was kind of nervous about that, but this team seems like it's a special team. So much for that. It's yet another Syracuse special.
Well, I'll tell you this.
And it's early.
The odds that they could win a national championship are obviously very difficult for any team. I always feel like Syracuse will come out and they're 11-0, 13-0, 14-0, right? And all of a sudden everyone's like,
yeah, this is
national championship, national championship.
Yeah.
And then they lose one game, then
they go on a skid.
Yes.
They lose like 6 games in a row. I thought the same thing. I'd rather have them get their losses out of the way now. If they are that team we think they are, get it out of the way now, and
How do they spell Buddy Boeheim? How do they spell Boeheim wrong on the Syracuse jerseys?
Yeah.
Someone ought to go check. Did they spell his name right on the court? I think they did, but I haven't looked in a long time at the Boeheim court in Syracuse. How do you get the coaches, a legendary coach who's been there that long?
Yeah.
You get his son's name wrong on the jersey. It's not like it's the program that MSG made. It's not like it's something where UConn put it together. The Syracuse jersey misspells Boeheim. I was shocked when I saw that.
Let's see. We have a lot to get into here today. I want to talk at some point this morning about this Ocean Blue New Year's Eve party. They've had a couple of ads that they put out on social media, and they've gotten criticism, and I'm really not quite sure why. But we'll talk about it. Have you seen this yet?
Yeah.
Did I tell you what his take was going to be?
You think that it's? Do you think I'm wrong?
I think it's a little risque. No, I think
it's a New Year's Eve party. They put out an ad that featured a condom wrapper.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
Okay, the other one uses a prescription pill bottle, and what apparently Made in Utica got into this first and said that's inappropriate. I guess.
With the
condom thing?
No,
they started with a condom.
I never saw the condom.
It was a condom wrapper. I
always thought I only saw the pill one.
I did get a photo of it here.
Yeah, I only saw the pill one too.
Here it is. Okay, so no, that's not it. Did she email it to me? I have it somewhere. Anyway, the first one is of a condom, and search it, you'll find it. And it talks about a big party coming up, details coming soon. And then the next one was a prescription bottle, and it kind of talked about.
So the instructions for how to get how to get tickets for the party were essentially instructions you would find to take your medicine. For a good time, take this number and call it and get 2 tickets.
Like
it was kind of a play on the
a pharmacist would. And you're, please tell me you're not, but you're thinking that that's inappropriate?
No, I didn't. I was aware that some folks thought it was inappropriate.
Those people should shut up. I'm telling you, are we to the point that you can't do anything and people are... I get it. So a condom comes out, and what are we? What is the complaint there? It was risque.
I think it's the pill bottle more than the condom.
The condom started it all. That's where it got ugly. And apparently Francis bit back. Francis, the owner of Ocean Blue, bit back kind of... I'm saying he bit back. That probably says enough. So Made in Utica criticized, he bit back. Then it went further. Then he came out and said, all right, well, here's my next ad, and it was the prescription bottle. And then everybody went nuts over the overdoses and the opioid epidemic. So I guess. But come on, are we going to be that sensitive? I just think it's over. I think we are. You can't do anything anymore.
Yeah, well, I think that's the truth. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little pushy, edgy, risque. I think it shows it's a younger audience he's looking to attract. But I mean, I wasn't offended by it. I thought it was attention getting. What I had said to him was,
for the first time, I'm going to say snowflakes are just not on the ground. That's my opinion.
Yeah, no,
and I don't believe that crap.
And I was going to say it kind of made me think of you, the edgy push the button kind of thing.
Well, it was
push
effective because we're talking
push the
about
border
it right now.
Kind of thing is what I'm saying. Push the edges. So, anyway.
Bob Dylan in town last night. And I thought it was a legendary show. He's 77 years old, and he's certainly slowed down. I will tell you that. And I described him as even a bit frail. Spent most of his time behind the piano. Only a couple of times that didn't play the guitar. Only a couple of times was he on his feet singing, and took a very wide stance. When do you take a wide stance? I was always taught to take a wide stance in football. The reason is
you might get knocked over.
You don't want to get knocked over. Wrestling, same thing. You come in with a nice wide stance because
you might get knocked over.
It's exactly right. On the stage of the Stanley, you take a wide stance because
you're hammered.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Although I have in his days, we've seen Bob Dylan on TV. At one time, there was an award show. I swear to God, his eyes were rolling back into his head. But I'm going to tell you, it was not hammered. He's struggling.
Really?
Mobility, it seemed. And just the first time I've seen him in that way. But still, he didn't forget a single word, I think anyway, to the songs. Can't quite be sure, but I'm pretty sure. But one thing that Dylan is, you got to understand when you go to a Dylan show, and I've been to probably 4 or 5. Sometimes you're going to be happy with it, and sometimes you're not. I remember back in the 90s, I think it was the 90s, he came to the Stanley Theater and did a show, and it was all of his religious stuff. He'd gone religious, didn't do any of his classics. He just played these songs that nobody heard. Fans were angry. Why do you come there? You come for like a Rolling Stone. You come for all of his
top
classics.
hits, the classics.
Yeah. So but Dylan doesn't care, and he plays. He fills the place. The place was full, and it was awesome. It was awesome to hear Like a Rolling Stone, but it was his new invention of Like a Rolling Stone. It was completely different. Some of the songs, as he reinvents. Honestly, I didn't know what the songs were until you got well into it, but I did love it. I still loved it. My wife probably not feeling the same way. All I wanted to hear was Like a Rolling Stone, and that was not Like a Rolling Stone. That's what my wife said.
Like a Rolling Stone.
Doesn't even get there. Doesn't even get there in this song. It was on the piano. It was a completely different interpretation. Of
Instrumental, all piano.
No, the band played with him.
Oh, okay.
And not even a harmonica. I mean, the beautiful part of Rolling Stone is the harmonica in there, and that he didn't play that, but he did play the harmonica last night. All in all, I loved it. It was a great show. Would I go back to see it again? Yes. Would I love to see him come in and do what Paul McCartney does when Paul McCartney plays? You think you're listening to the record. I mean, at his age, it's 74, Paul McCartney. And by the way, no mobility issues, at least that he shows, Paul McCartney. But Paul McCartney, when he plays, you think you're listening to the Beatles. You think it's like the record. It's incredible. Bob Dylan, I've played this song for way too long. Let's change it up a little bit.
Because
never spoke to the audience once, and he never does. Never at the very end, he kind of shuffled, I call it a shuffle, shuffled out to the front of the stage with the band, took a little bit of a bow, turned around and walked away. That's Bob Dylan. It's kind of funny.
Wow.
But I did love it last night. All right, I'm going on. I got a lot of stuff to get into. Willie Waffle coming up. There's something going on for Laney's Army, and it's a cause that does not include animals or dogs, right?
Right.
We'll get to that. NY22. Something big happened yesterday, and it was an upset. Madison County, which Claudia Tenney won. I was surprised on election night that Madison County was as close as it was. Remember, that's the place she calls her childhood home, right? She went to Colgate. Her family business was there in Madison County. And I felt like it was close. But what happened once again is the recount or the count of the absentees did not go in line with election night. And we'll explain what that means and who's the beneficiary. Coming up, a mixture of closings and delays here this morning. Rachel Witter is the chief meteorologist at Eyewitness News, and she's standing by right now. Rachel, pretty much what you had predicted. We're looking at some significant snow out there this morning.
Yeah. The bulk of it mainly fell overnight, but the back edge of the storm hasn't quite cleared central New York yet. So give that a couple more hours, and we're going to keep adding on to accumulation in most spots. The heaviest stuff right now is south of the Thruway, and the whole storm is now sliding east. The motion of the storm previously overnight and yesterday evening was lifting north, so this whole thing is starting to shift to the east, so that's going to bring a lot of the heavy stuff out of here. It will set up lake effect bands later. I don't think we're going to get a ton of accumulation from that, but usually this happens when a storm like this rides up the coast. It will shift our wind direction, so that's what will happen later today. But, yeah, a little bit of everything with this storm, snow, sleet, a little freezing rain, too, so pretty complicated, messy storm, but I think the worst is over for the most part.
We did deal with some, I think, freezing rain, but I know at least sleet last night. Do we have to worry about more sleet and freezing rain this morning?
No, not so much. That happened just because the temperatures were kind of getting set up as the storm moved in, but now it's really just going to stay steadily cold for the rest of the day, even into tonight.
Love the cold. Really love it. I hope you're happy there, Rachel. Get out on your snowmobile and stop complaining.
She doesn't like the cold. She likes the snow.
That's true.
Yeah. It's too early to be on my snowmobile, so this is just wasted snow for me.
Wasted snow. All right. Either way, the roads, I have to say the roads are slick this morning. There's still a lot of accumulation on the road, so it's a slippery snow. I don't know if that has anything to do with temperature, but the roads are slick this morning.
Yeah, for sure. It's not just the stuff that kind of brushes off either. So yeah, messy storm for sure.
All right, Rachel, thanks so much. Rachel Witter is the chief meteorologist at Eyewitness News. Remember the story of the couple that raised the money for the homeless man? They raised like $400,000.
Oh my goodness!
In New Jersey.
Oh, I didn't know it was
this
that
was last
much
year.
money.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of money. They started out wanting to raise $10,000, but they ended up with $400,000. Then there was the story where the homeless man was saying, "I'm not getting my money." And they're saying, well, we think you're still doing drugs, so we're not going to give it to you until you're doing the right thing. Turns out...
So they've adopted him.
They've all been arrested. And the DA's office is saying it's all a scam.
The whole thing?
Yes. The guy really was homeless and met the couple outside a casino, but they made up the story about the homeless guy helped the woman when she ran out of gas. Then the couple spent all the GoFundMe money on trips and gambling. But the homeless guy gets arrested as well. Here's the DA talking about what happened here.
The paying it forward story that drove this fundraiser might seem too good to be true. Unfortunately, it was. The entire campaign was predicated on a lie. Less than an hour after their GoFundMe page went live, McClure, in a text exchange with a friend, stated that the story about Bobbitt assisting her was fake. Specifically, she wrote, "Okay, so wait, the gas part is completely made up, but the guy isn't. I had to make something up to make people feel bad. So shush about the made up stuff." She did not run out of gas on an I-95 off-ramp, and he did not spend his last $20 to help her. Rather, D'Amico, McClure, and Bobbitt conspired to pass off a fake, feel-good story that would compel donors to contribute to their cause. And it worked, in a very big way, but it was fictitious and illegal, and there are consequences. My office has charged Mark D'Amico.
I don't know why these clips keep it. I haven't been able to figure it out. Either way, it's nuts. Last year, if you remember when this thing first broke, they were on the Good Morning America, and the homeless guy was on along with this couple, and this is what they had to say here. See if this will play properly.
Ran out of gas, so I pulled over to the side of the road. He walked up and he said, "Get back in the car, lock the doors, I'll be back."
Gas to help her get back on her way. Wasn't expecting anything in return.
Me and my boyfriend Mark went back the next day. He gave him $100.
I was ecstatic.
How often would you go to see Johnny?
A few times a week. What if we started a GoFundMe for this guy? We set it up in the car on the way home.
It's like winning the lottery.
It turns out it went ugly when they spent all the money and didn't give to him. Now, they could have made this whole thing work had they just given the money to him.
Or
and instead, they could have split it.
Everyone was in. Apparently, everyone had skin in the game as this was a lie.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Absolutely an opportunity here for them to split the money and make off like bandits. Everyone gets $200,000, or the two sides get $200,000.
Yeah.
The fact that he didn't spill the beans surprises me.
It does, because I would think if you're homeless in America, chances are you're dealing with a mental illness issue, because there are so many places that you could end up, so many things that can be done for you. You don't have to live out on the street in America today.
I agree.
So
100%.
That would lead to me. I mean, if you're somebody that's like, okay, we're going to trust this guy to stay quiet. Are we really sure about this?
Yeah.
I mean, me and you, we can stay quiet on this. But I'm not sure that old Johnny Bobbitt over here is going to be able to keep his mouth shut.
I think the best part of this, the karma, the you just got to watch your back, because when you do something bad, it'll come back and bite you. Her friend, who she confided in, is the one apparently who spilled the beans.
Yeah, isn't that something? What pieces of garbage? Kim Strong is with Ladies Army. They are an organized group that helps animals and dogs in particular. Today, she is promoting something a little bit different, and Kim is on the line right now. Good morning.
She's on one.
Oh, she's on one. Okay, it is reversed here. Now I see. Kim Strong, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Bill. How are you?
Good. What's going on today?
Well, tomorrow, or actually tonight, I'm sleeping out for a group called Covenant House.
Oh.
I thought...
In the snow.
Why are you always get caught up in this stuff, Kim?
Well, you know what? I lived homeless for 1 month when I was between places to live. And it was in the summer, and I had my car, and I had 2 dogs with me. And it was really difficult. It was incredibly difficult. And I wasn't a teenager on the streets with no choices. And predators looking to make me into a sex slave or a drug addict or anything else. So to me, the Covenant House has stood with these kids for decades. And they give them food, and they give them shelter, and they don't abuse them, and they give them choices that they don't have. Because they're running from homes or drugs or whatever they're running from when they're kids. You make really bad choices when you're a child.
How old were you when you were homeless?
Oh, no, Bill, this was 5 years ago.
Wow.
This was 5 years ago when I was still when Laney's Army was in existence. I didn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I lived out of my car for a month.
Wow.
And I had I had friends who could help me and support me.
Yeah.
These kids don't have that.
Yeah.
They don't have those choices.
Well, they also
and you
don't
know how unsafe you feel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Out there when you don't have 4 walls to go in behind every night.
They also don't have the maturity level.
They have really poor decision making.
Yeah. Very trusting. Yeah.
And they don't have choices. So not every, there are reasons why people are homeless, and we need to house them, and that needs to be a priority. But Covenant House, again, they give them warm clothes, food, they give them education, they try to get them into rehab if they've got drug issues, and they're international. But they have, they were founded in New York City. I met the man who founded it when I was in 2nd grade, and he changed my life.
I will say that
my entire perspective on life.
Earlier I said it's pretty much mental illness, but it's also drug abuse is a huge contributor to.
And for teenagers, it's also abuse in their families that they're running from.
That's another. It's different with teenagers. You're right. They're trying to escape and they end up homeless. That happens so often.
And then you also have kids who phase out of foster care at 18, and they don't have the skills or the family or the support to, make it in this world.
All right, you're sleeping out. You're going to sleep out in the cold. It's going to be wintry. And where are you doing it?
On Broad Street, right in front of our building, up by the Broad Street Flea Market. I'm going to be sleeping there. I'm going to be doing live videos throughout the night on my personal page on Facebook.
Okay.
So, and it's really just to say not everybody has it that good, and most of us are a couple of paychecks away from being homeless ourselves as adults.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know what? It's to raise awareness. I'll be taking coats for the Rescue Mission and Emmaus House and gloves and mittens and hats that I will be donating to our local homeless groups. So if anyone wants to stop by with a cup of coffee or some gloves, hats, coats, or mittens, I'll be glad to take them.
All right,
I'll have a box out front.
Will you be in a tent or in a car or what?
I'm actually going to be kind of huddled up against a building.
Oh,
so literally.
Kim.
Literally sleeping outside.
Why... you do this
you
sometimes.
Get to a box or something.
Yeah, at like risk to your own health. I mean, I get the point and to draw attention, but I mean, God, you don't even have a tent,
movement. There's 4,500 of us doing this across the country.
Okay. But how many are doing it in the middle of a snowstorm?
Bro,
in 15-degree weather?
Said right now across the country.
Well, it's not snowing in California or Florida or Wisconsin.
Kim, what you're doing is noble. Thank you for what you're doing, and we'll keep following you.
Could you possibly put up the link so they could donate if they want to Covenant House?
We absolutely will. Yep. And I'll try
Thank you so much, guys, and have a great day.
Okay, you too. Thank you. Wow. How about that? A quick break. Right back to Willie Waffle. And remember, the roads are slick this morning. You'll need extra time. And there are delays and closings, and some of the delays are turning into closings. And
he's the only one that gets mad over advocacy.
No, I'm not getting mad about it.
Willie Waffle standing by on the line right now. Willie, good morning.
Well, good morning, and I don't want to sound like an idiot, but I'm going to sleep inside.
I was going to ask you, are you sleeping outdoors tonight? What's going on?
No, I mean, oh my God, what bravery that woman has! My God,
well,
I'm really impressed.
I have to tell you, this goes back, and she'll tell you if you were to ever ask her, but you don't know her. She says, I learned all of this stuff from those stunts that you used to do years ago, talking about me. And the idea, our concept was, if you put yourself out there in inclement weather and bad living conditions, it inspires people to give. If you're out in a plush trailer out there and there's heat and everything's all good, people don't feel bad for you. If you get them to feel bad for you, they give more. And that's what she's taking it to a whole new level. I mean, she's like chaining herself out to like a dog would be chained out when it's like 10 below zero. I'm like, okay, I never did that. Sorry.
She'll be in the hot car. She walked to Albany for legislation. I mean, this is nothing compared to what she's done.
With a chain around her neck.
That's a physical exertion thing. When you're out in the elements like this, and it's like winter outside, I think she's got some health risks that anyway, let's...
All right, Willie Waffle, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I mean, come on. I get to talk about the light and fluffy stuff. I get to talk about movies.
You do. But before we get to the light and fluffy, did you see it was Madison County that came in, Anthony Brindisi gaining almost 300 votes in a county that he lost? What is that telling you? My take is their ground game was so good. They're making up ground in these absentee ballots, and it's going more in his favor than actually on election night.
Well, I think that what it tells you is that he engaged in a very, very well-planned, well-thought-out campaign to work the absentee ballots.
Yeah.
Whenever you're in a campaign like this, you can get access to the people who have requested absentee ballots, and you can communicate with them, and you can write to them, and you can send them materials. And he obviously did a very good job of that.
Willie, do you agree? This was, and I thought these campaigns were gone, but this was an old-fashioned campaign. You get in there and you work the numbers. You work the constituents. You get the vote out. You work the absentees. This is a classic campaign strategy.
Well, yeah, and what sets it apart is, remember, we talk so much about the modern campaign and how something like what was it, like $30 million was spent by outside groups and the candidates on TV campaigns. Well, when you're equally spending on a TV campaign and a radio campaign and all the mailing, your ground game matters now.
It does,
and that's what sets you apart.
Said it on election night, said it the day after. I've never seen such an intense ground game out of the campaign, and it does seem to be paying off. He's up by 1,800 votes right now. All right, quick. And by the way, today, Broome County, Willie, you come out today. The Broome County.
They started counting the votes yesterday.
Yeah.
I'll throw this out to you though. Anticipated delay. We did get that 12, 13 inches of snow last night, and I don't know how much work they're going to get done today. That might get delayed until Monday.
Believe it or not, I actually only have a minute, Willie. So let's throw these out quickly. Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grin. This is the Harry Potter, right?
Yes, this is the Harry Potter prequels, and this one's a little bit more Harry Potterish than the last Fantastic Beasts, but it still feels like they're trying to set me up for the next 3 Fantastic Beast movies. So, there's a lot of characters. There's a muddled storyline. I'd say more like 2 waffles. It's just mildly magical to me.
Instant Family, this is Marky Mark and Rose Byrne.
Yeah, I was supposed to see it, and they closed the movie theater by the time this movie started.
And Widows. What did you think of this one?
Widows, I thought was really fantastic. You got Viola Davis. She has to band together with the widows of the crime gang that her husband Liam Neeson ran, and they have to steal $2 million to pay off the mob boss that wants his money.
All right, what do you give it?
I'm giving it 3.5 waffles. It's absolutely fantastic.
Okay. We'll see that one tonight. I got to do something. All right, Willie, thanks so much. Enjoy the weekend. We'll be waiting for your results from Broome County.
All right. You have a great day.
Thanks so much. I want a couple things and then one more thing. And then yesterday, Tim Julian was on the air yesterday and really dropped a few bombs and alluded to a possible run for something, maybe county executive, that he did not. I asked him through a list of, are you running for this? Are you thinking about this? We got a lot of no's. And then when I brought up county executive, he said, thinking about it. Mm-hmm. So that has prompted some reaction. He was very critical of the city and very critical of the county. Bill Morehouse will respond here this morning, and so will Anthony Pacenti. That's all coming up this hour. On Kim Strong, she is actually has this ladies' army over there on Broad Street, and she's camping out tonight, out huddled up against this is a way to raise money and funds and clothing for people who are homeless. And she'll be doing that tonight over on Broad Street. Michael says, A, I hope her water dish doesn't freeze. We do too. And two, he says, it is somewhat ironic. A lot of times irony is confused. Not here. It is sometimes somewhat ironic that the new kennels that they're building in across the street from the Utica flea market. So there's a dog kennel. Why would you put it next to a flea market? That's funny. You got to let it sink in. I thought it was very funny. And finally, I got to tell you, if you're on the no-carb diet, low-carb diet, keto diet, it's something that I've been on, and my wife is on it too. I found something at Aldi's, and I thought, oh, these are kind of cool. This is neat. It's black spaghetti. And turns out it's black soybean spaghetti. And it is 25 grams of plant-based protein, high in fiber, and it does fall in the category of vegan. It's not something that I would normally eat. I love pasta. And on this diet, I can't eat it. And part of the reason is because the carbs on an average portion of any pasta, whether it's spaghetti or linguine or bow ties, you're talking 40-plus carbs, 40 grams plus. This has, in carbs, 19 grams. Only 19 grams of carbs. So if you must have pasta. Not a bad idea. And I just so happened to prepare it last night, and I brought it in for you guys to try, and it would fit on your diet, Andrew.
Yes.
Okay? I'm just saying.
One correction.
Healthy.
You showed your age, Bill. It's Aldi. It's not Aldi's.
Oh,
you got to have one of these young hipsters approach you and correct you on that.
I never knew that.
It's Aldi, not Aldi's.
I've never seen one of these hipsters in the Aldi store, but
that's all they can afford.
And social media, it's like a big thing. Anytime someone says Aldi's, they'll correct them in a social media post. Yeah.
Interesting. I always bring my quarter. You got to have your quarter. Bill Morehouse, Utica City Comptroller, is up next to respond to Tim Julian. We'll do it when we come back at WIBX. Here's Bill Morehouse standing by right now. William, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. I do have some. I do have something to say about Tim's talk about economic development and how it is organically grown in this administration. Had nothing to do with it. But really what I wanted to do here was expand on what Tim was talking about as far as the county tax goes.
Okay.
Now, yesterday I listened to Andrew every 30 minutes saying that for the sixth consecutive year, the county of Oneida has a 0% property tax increase. And then I look at my property tax bill, and I'm a high assessed value. I'm assessed at $176,000, and my bill went from $1,715 to $1,868 to $1,995 this year, a $280 increase the last 2 years. And I'm saying, wow, that's great that the sixth consecutive year, a 0% property tax increase. And, the city of Utica is assessed at roughly $1.1 billion. You take it, everything, the tax rate is based on 1,000. You look at Oneida County, it was $11.15 last year. Mm-hmm. This year it's gone up 86 cents, so it's $11, and it'll be $11.91 this year. And that's a 7.73% increase, and that's about $1 million in the county pockets from City of Utica taxpayers. So 0%. If you're getting $1 million, then somebody's saving $1 million, correct?
Right.
I mean,
right.
I'm not a mathematician.
Well, who's saving?
But I stayed at the Hotel Utica last night. But that's what I'm saying. Who's saving? So where are the big buildings? Where are they? Are they in New Hartford? Okay, yeah, New Hartford's hold on. New Hartford's going up 5%. Okay, well, where are they? Rome's huge. they're going up 6.86%. Where is the Taj Mahal built? Is it in Ava, Augusta?
Bill,
I mean,
you're in this business.
28 municipalities. Gentlemen, let me just tell you this. 28 municipalities.
Yeah.
And 20 of them have a tax increase in the county. Yet we have a 0% tax increase. But 20 out of 28 have a tax increase. When I heard Andrew say that, after about the third time, 0%, I started hearing, if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. Okay. I'm thinking, my God, this is political nonsense.
All right,
what Andrew should have been saying, one more thing, what Andrew should have been saying is for the 6th consecutive year, the county of Oneida has a 0% tax increase unless you live in Bridgewater, Camden, Deerfield, Floyd, Forestport, Kirkland, Lee, Marshall, New Hartford, Paris, Rome, Sangerfield, Steuben, Trenton, Utica, Vernon, Vienna, Western, Westmoreland, or Whitestown.
Enjoy your sarcasm.
Hold on. What was the fifth one? What was the fifth one?
And your performance this morning. All right. Who wants to pipe in?
This is top notch. Let me.
By the way, everybody expected you to be coming.
I mean, it's crazy, Bill. It's just get somebody on and explain to me how there's a 0% tax.
All right, but hang on. I think you partially know the answer. Explain this. You work in this business, the property tax business, the revenue end of it. How is it possible that you can have a 0% property tax increase, yet the levy changes? Can you explain how that works?
Well, they try to say the equalization rate. The city of Utica is assessed at $1.1 billion, roughly. With the equalization rate, that goes up to $1.5 billion. That's basically what we should be assessed at. We're at 68% of what we should be assessed at. So we should do a revaluation, but it costs $2 million to do a reval. The last one was done in 1997. We need to do another one, but it's $2 million. And as you can see, that's something the administration is trying to hold off on. But no, I'm serious. I'm not a mathematician, but if there's $1 million more from Utica, and if Rome went up almost 7%, you're getting a lot more money from them. In New Hartford, they got a lot of huge buildings there. They went up 5%, and I have a building in New Hartford, so I'm paying 5% more there.
Yeah.
Where is this?
Okay, so is what you're saying? Is what you're saying
is totally phony? What I'm saying is it's totally phony.
But hang on, I get it. You think?
By
it's
the way,
phony.
for the record, Tony Pacenti will be on in about 30 minutes.
And I'd love Tony to explain it, Bill. And look,
we'll ask
Tony
him.
was not elected the first time. He was appointed. And I was there. I was a county legislator. I voted for Tony. I stood up and spoke well of Tony. I respect Tony. I think he's doing a great job. But he's got to explain to me, if he's getting more revenue from all of these 20 out of 28 municipalities, who is saving all this money? Is Augusta getting a $2 million tax break?
So let me ask you a question. Does this mean, for instance, in the city of Utica, you said it was valued at $1.1 billion, all the property, right? So the city of Utica must roughly, okay, they must kick to the county the percentage on the $1.1 billion. But as you get properties that come off the tax rolls, everyone else has to make up the difference. Is that possibly the reason for this?
No, you take your assessed value, you divide it by 1,000, then you get a tax rate. In the city of Utica, the tax rate is $27.09 per thousand. So we times that by the one last year, it was $1,088,000 divided by 1,000 times $27.09. With the county of Oneida, you take that same number divided by 1,000, and now this year you times it by $11.91. They're getting more property tax revenue. Now, who is saving all that additional property tax revenue? Now, are they taking Indian money and saying that balances it? I don't get it. Maybe Tony can explain it, but I think he'll explain it with, it's the equalization and you got to pay for MVCC and this. No, they're taking in more money. When I hear 0%, that means we took in $1 million last year. This year we're taking in $1 million. And this is not the case.
And when you hear...
Utica, New Hartford have to be your three highest... I mean, is there a Taj Mahal? Did they just build a Taj Mahal in Florence?
I don't
know.
When you hear, and to be fair here, and you're right, when you hear that there's a 0% property tax increase, you don't think that if you're an Oneida County resident, you feel you are among those who are not going to be increased. You don't think that one is and one isn't. You are, I'm not. But
Bill, even if one is and one isn't, 20 are getting property tax increases. 8 are getting, and you know who's getting a reduction? Ansville, 0.8%. Augusta, 1.71%. Ava, 1%. Boonville, 0.6%. Florence is the biggie. They get a 4.99% reduction. So they must be saving millions of dollars in Florence. Marcy, 0.99%. I sent these numbers over to Andrew. Remsen, 1.54%. Verona, 0.57. Those are the only reductions. It doesn't add up.
Yeah. All right. We'll have him on. Now I want to switch to economic development. And
to say
Tim
that
was
the city of Utica has organically grown. I heard Joe Marino say it, and Tim's former mayor Julian say it, that the mayor was in the right place at the right time. That's a bunch of bull. That's a couple politicians are running for office. It's a bunch of crap, because this mayor is the best salesman for this city that we've ever seen. And he, in the last 6 years, 7 years, whatever it's been, has taken the city from a negative fund balance to a major positive fund balance, where this city is fiscally responsible, fiscally sound. And to say that he's had no part in this, give me a break.
Can I ask you about property tax potential in the city of Utica?
Yes, I think this year we're going to look at some really good things, and I think people will be very pleased. And maybe even a reduction in the tax. And you know what will happen if we have a reduction of, let's say, 3%, 4%? They'll say, oh, the mayor's running for office again. But no, we had to get our ship in order. We had to get fiscally sound. Now we are. Now we can start giving back to people. You don't dip into your savings account until you're ready to be fiscally sound, and then you can dip into it, and now's the time we can.
Are you? He's saying another year of what are you saying? 5% increase?
No, I'm saying potentially 3 to 5% reduction.
Reduction. All right.
Reduction. And Joe Marino's going to come on and say, it's because he's running for office.
Yep.
No, it's because now we've gotten the ship right.
All right.
The mayor has done an unbelievable job. And when I hear somebody like Tim Julian say, or Joe Marino say that it's organic and that this mayor had nothing to do with it, that's the biggest. You know what that is? That's if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor, and every family's going to save $2,500 on their health insurance.
I want to ask you, still speaking of health insurance, are you still standing strong in support of the hospital downtown? Where do you stand?
Oh, my God, absolutely.
Okay.
And, you know, when I hear all these people that say, you know, I just ran for office recently, and I would go to a door and they'd say, well, I'm against the hospital because I got this flyer from Jim Zecca. And I'd look at that flyer, and I'd go down point by point. It was either a lie or a distortion. And by the time I left that door, which I had to spend 20 minutes, which, you know, I'm trying to go door to door and get these damn signatures.
Yeah.
By the time I left the door, they just said, you know what, maybe the hospital is a good idea. And you know what I'm telling you, Bill, right now my wife has a little health issue. She's in the hospital, and it's a joke when doctors can't go from one hospital, St. Luke's, to St. E's, when they can't treat, you know, it's all Mohawk Daily Health System, put it under one roof, put it downtown Utica. Are we losing $109,000 in tax revenue? Yes. Will we make that up 10 times over? My God. We've got people looking at empty lots already to build medical offices and every other thing. This is transformational for the city of Utica. And if you're against it, that's fine. But I'll tell you what, if the mayor and I did not support this and didn't do this, in 10 years people would look back and say, these guys were idiots. They had a chance to bring a hospital down here, a state-of-the-art hospital? Are you kidding me?
All right.
It's a no-brainer.
No-brainer. I appreciate it, Bill. You
Sorry to get so fired up, but my back's hurting from shoveling this heavy snow.
I get it. It is.
I'm not sorry.
It is heavy. You got to pay somebody to do that. You're getting to be old, Bill. I mean, you're not a young man anymore.
I just had my 58th birthday, and you're damn right I am old. It's hard to get up now.
I think you do pretty well. So, all right, William. Thanks so much. We appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for the time, guys.
Bill Morehouse. We'll get the response from. Yes, we'll get the response from County Executive Pacenti. Coming up, also our free money question of the day this morning, worth $100 from Hobica. The delays, some of them are turning into closures, and there's a lot of it out there. The roads are slippery, so please be careful. I want to talk about Dylan last night, Bob Dylan, last night at the Stanley Theater, and a few observations.
Didn't you go?
Didn't even do that. Didn't do any of that. Didn't you?
I'm saying, didn't you go to the concert?
Times, it's so fine. It's no time. Didn't you? None of that. He completely changed the song. It was just like, what is this song?
That was the remix.
Midway through, I'm like, this is a new version of like a Rolling Stone.
It's all the words you never could understand before.
I did a version. I was trying to find it. I'm going to find it. It's Bob Dylan backwards. And instead of saying, didn't you? It was, how do you feel? It was, feel you do how? Feel you do how? I took the lyrics and just sang them backwards. Nobody could tell the difference. It's like, oh, yeah, that's like a Rolling Stone.
Oh, my God. He did it so well.
Yeah. Standing by is Candy in Utica. Good morning, Candy. And line number 2. Good morning. Hi, Candy.
Good morning.
Okay, you're with me. Your category this morning for $100 from the Hobica Law Firm is In the News. In the News. So when I do this category, over the last couple of days, you might have seen this story in the news, okay?
Sure.
All right, Candy, here we go. A man from Idaho, you have 7 seconds, you know the deal. A man from Idaho just broke the latest Guinness record by eating the most kernels of corn in a quick amount of time by using what utensil? Ready? Go. feel it just how?
A tablespoon. I don't know.
A tablespoon. Is it a tablespoon?
I want to say. I think it's a straw. Oversized straw.
An oversized straw. Anybody else want to guess?
Chopsticks?
Chopsticks. Wrong. Wrong.
Really?
Listen to this story here.
All right. That same method here where timer when I've got the corn all drained.
This is David Rush of Idaho.
I can get started here.
He ate 241 kernels of corn using...
Set, go.
Scissors?
Oh. He's using a toothpick by picking up each kernel. 241 kernels of corn in 3 minutes.
3, 2, 1.
Come on!
And he broke the record, the Guinness record. What in the hell kind of record is that?
Come on!
The reason I'm doing this story is, are you kidding me? We made the world's largest jelly donut, and this guy gets in the book for that?
Yeah, that's kind of
He's also got the world record for the most annoying chew.
Yes, he does. I'm sorry for that question, Candy, but it's in the news. I want to give you an option. We have tickets to see Dennis Miller at the On Center coming up in February, and also from It's a Utica Thing, a jar of their Riggy sauce, which is really, really good, okay?
Okay.
You take care of, you can get both. Davey's going to hook you up, all right?
Okay.
Only take the tickets if you want to go, by the way. It's Miller and Mark Stein. Mark Stein's pinch hitting for Rush this afternoon. So.
Oh, he'll be on, right? That's really cool. Sit tight, Candy. Davey's going to take care of you.
Okay.
It's the only place in the world where you can lose and win.
Also, Jim Rondinelli will be disappointed that he's been knocked off his throne as the most annoying chewer in the world. This other guy takes it over.
Jim Piccola, and I just want to give you a, before we get to, Michael has given us an assessment, his review of Dylan last night. Do you want to hear it?
Sure.
And I think it's spot on. I thought the set stage was very interesting. Love the huge stage lights. It was really cool. They were an amber-looking stage light. And they were big, like movie set stage lights that were all around the stage. No movement. This is old classic style. There was no camera or video. There was nobody, not even any background singers. It was just the stage. That's how it stayed. He didn't speak to the audience. That's all typical Bob Dylan. I really like songs that I never really knew. I feel the same way, as opposed to the songs that I know, but he sang so differently that it was almost like they were a different song. Although I liked Highway 61, style seemed somewhat country. My addition is they even had a steel guitar in there, so there was a real country flavor to it. Also interesting, he had no background vocal behind him, which probably omits a lot of his songs. Would have loved to hear him sing Knocking on Heaven's Door. I feel that way, too. And Tangled Up in Blue. And how about security if you wanted to take a picture? I don't think they let you do that.
No, they said that.
I'll send you a few, though. You didn't hear that.
There's somebody at the side door for you.
I did love it, though. But it's like it took me half a minute to realize, oh, that's like a Rolling Stone. Complete different versions. Like I'm sick of playing it like this. So I'm just going to do this. And I Michael, I would love your take on it. His mobility. First time I've seen Bob Dylan, who's you could tell he's 77 and was struggling to. I thought slowly walking across the stage. I was really surprised by that. But hey, he's 77. He's still out there playing. Pretty wild. Jim Piccola, good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
When this this just was recently uncovered, this time capsule, as you're working on this 5S project. And what year does it date back to?
Best we can tell, 1969, October of 1969.
You should have saw Dylan shuffle across the stage back then. He could move back then. So basically, and what's neat for you is it's all on stationery of Department of Transportation.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it was.
How do you now? This is the tube.
Yeah.
So it's basically a pipe.
Yep.
And
no kidding.
And so how would you know that this just isn't something that gets thrown out?
Well,
it's very like a needle in a haystack.
Yeah. I mean, anybody else probably would have discarded it, but it was kind of laying between the two stones in the mortar bed, and it's very unusual for something like that to be there. So one of the inspectors picked it up, looked at it, and said, let's open it. And when he opened it, he found those papers inside.
Really cool.
That's got to be so cool.
And what are the papers?
They're just, stationary, DOT stationary. In fact, it's funny because one of the things it says on there, it says District 2. And trying to find out exactly when we went from district back to now region 2.
Oh, wow,
yeah. And before, actually, New York State DOT used to be called Department of Public Works. And I think that was changed somewhere in the 50s or 60s.
Okay. And there, you say that it was referenced. I think the story I saw in the OD was referenced in the Daily Press that there was such a thing. Is that true?
Well, it was in the OD back in. That's how we kind of know when the date was when that sign was dedicated.
I see. So the time capsule wasn't referenced, but the sign.
The sign was.
Got
it.
All right.
It was the summer of '69. That's when it was. The end of the summer of '69.
Yeah.
Are you going to sing the song? Or
No.
I
don't sing. No.
And what happens to the sign, by the way?
The sign has been put away right now, and when all is said and done, we'll restore it back to.
And what does the sign say, by the way?
It was about the area, the canal area, and stuff like that.
Because the canal used to go through that stretch on a Risky.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
Really cool. Well, I give you guys all the credit in the world for being able to, your guys being able to recognize that this might be something.
Yeah.
I'd have been like, throw it out, it's garbage, and you never would have known.
Absolutely.
Really cool. And how about some of the names? Did you recognize any of the names on here?
I did. One was Joe DiTraglia. I heard that name. I've been with the state. It'll be 34 years coming up this August. I do remember his name, and there was a Sullivan that was on there. I'm not sure if it's the same gentleman. But those guys.
Kalia, Bolmer, DiTraglia, Lapache. I'm not sure if Lafache. Carcone.
Common Utica names.
Yes.
Pataki. And others as well. So it's really very cool. Yeah. We'll post this up on our website for people to see. Appreciate you coming in. How are the roads out there?
They're getting better. Yep. The crews have been working hard all night long.
This snowstorm, you have several projects going on. What does this do to those projects? Does it delay them for now?
Right now we're trying to clean them up. I know we were looking last night to make sure that all the barrels were intact because we have, some closures through there, lane closures. And so we were making sure that, when our plows went through, if anything got knocked over, we put that back. It'll be a little bit of a delay, but we hope, we'll get a little bit of a break in the weather and we can get back at it.
I give a lot of credit to the city, village, town. I'm assuming they handle the leaf removal. Because everybody had their leaves, big piles of leaves. In some cases, streets were really narrowed. But in the last couple of days, they've been out scurrying to get it done before we get heavy snow. Because I'm assuming once you get heavy snow, you're not going to be able to pick these leaves up the same way.
That is true. And I know in the city they did a great job, too.
Yeah. Yep. Very cool. All right, Jim, thanks so much. I want to keep it here. I know that Anthony Picenti's been standing by here and wants to pipe in. Yesterday, Tim Julian on the air and made some pretty good accusations, implied that he is at the didn't imply, he said he is considering a run for county executive next year against Anthony Picenti. Bill Morehouse piped in from the city of Utica earlier in the hour. All somewhat critical of this 0% property tax increase. If that's the case, why are 20 of the 28 municipalities within the county facing a tax increase? To talk about that is the county executive himself, Anthony Picenti. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for your patience.
No problem.
You've been waiting.
Listening with great interest to all of your discussions there.
Didn't you? Bob Dylan right there.
Yeah,
Bob Dylan.
I liked your Dylan impersonation.
That's so good we're going to have to take it out for the audio for the YouTube.
Oh, right.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Did you hear Bill Morehouse?
I did not.
Okay.
I did not.
Critical, saying, explain, and Manasseh's better with numbers than I am, but explain how it is that there's a 0% property tax increase when, was it 20 of the 28 townships, municipalities are facing increases.
Yeah, he says Utica's up 7.75, Rome's up 5, New Hartford's up, and how does that happen? He said somebody's getting off well, but we're not.
Well, Mr. Morehouse used to be a member of the legislature in the county for a number of years, and I would have expected him to remember some of that. We deal with, and I go through this every year. In fact, a couple years ago, when the board reduced the tax levy by like 1.5 points, 14 municipalities still went up. It's based on equalization rates that the state sets in those in those towns and in the cities to level, as they put it, the assessed valuation of homes throughout the county. And when we're dealing with 29 municipalities that are getting a tax rate, from the county, it's one rate, but then it's spread out through those 29 municipalities that have to address their assessed value and equalization rates, and that's why it changes. And we've been explaining that for years. There are some other factors. There are chargebacks in there, a couple things like elections and MVCC that also have an effect on it, but it has consistently been that way and continues to be that way and will, as long as everybody's on a different assessed valuation, and that's something that we deal with. And it is unfortunate, and we try to explain that, yes, it's a zero tax increase. So the answer there is we're not raising more money by our budget. We're not asking the taxpayers to pay more in property taxes. It's the way that it's dispersed throughout those towns and the cities to make up that tax levy of $60 million.
Tony, I'd ask a question that said Morehouse's numbers were like Utica's assessed value was roughly $1.1 billion or something. So what I had said to him was, so if properties come off the tax roll, let's say they go to a not-for-profit or something, then everyone else makes up the difference. Is that part of the reason?
That's a part of it. That's a part of it, Jeff. It really does base itself, though, on the rates, the equalization rate that the state puts forth. So the state takes all of these municipalities and individually in a county such as ours and in other counties the same way, and balance them out on overall assessed values, with the intention being that even though it's going to be different because everybody assesses differently. The city of Utica's assessments are different. A $50,000 home in Utica, may be less or more somewhere else. It depends on what the assessed value in that particular township or city is. And what the state tries to do is place a rate on that, an equalization rate, that tries to level it off in terms of, not that everybody's paying the same, so that there's not a huge disparity in what people are paying per those assessed values. So it's very complicated, but it's not a rate that we base. And
I want to ask this: is there a better way to pitch it? In that, because and here, let me just say this, because in the media, we're just going to grab on, in stories like this, we grab onto something until we dig into the numbers, or someone digs in and complains to us, which is what happened here. Right. So is there a better way, a better lead, if you will, that doesn't open you up? Because the minute...
Well, in the opening part of my budget speech this year, again, I said we are not increasing the tax levy. However... taxes will go up in several municipalities due to equalization rates and due to chargebacks. So, I mean, we are forthcoming. We're not hiding it.
So do you think,
we're not lying to the public. What we're saying, though, is we are not raising more money. We're not asking for more money for our budget. That's fact. We're not increasing that. We're basically, it goes across multiple municipality lines in order to make that up.
Would you blame it on the media for cherry picking a good headline and slightly inaccurate?
No, it's an easy pick. I get it. It's an easy pick because somebody's going to say, and look, whether it's the city of Utica, the city of Rome, or the town of Ansville or the town of Boonville or wherever. I mean, you're going to see a different rate. And then I go back to a few years ago when we did reduce the amount of money we were collecting, and yet we got calls because some towns went up and said, "Wait a minute, I thought you cut the levy. Why are we paying more?" Yeah. It's because what has to be spread out among 110,000 parcels throughout this county that have to be assessed, that are all assessed in different manners.
Did you, at the very least, hear about, or did you hear Tim Julian yesterday?
I heard about it. I did not listen to it. No, I didn't.
Your take and your response.
Of which part? Which part?
Well, he hammered you pretty hard for quite a while.
Disappointing. Tim and I had always been friends. I supported him when he ran. I mean, look, we just got through an election cycle.
Yeah.
People are we don't even know who the winners are in a couple races, but there'll be time for this next time. And look, I pretty much, Bill, everybody ran against me this year, and I wasn't running.
Right. Right.
So, it is what it is.
You have implied that at the very least that you're not done yet. I don't think if I'm correct, that you've made an official. I will run for re-election. But you've implied that there's a lot more to accomplish and to finish. Do you believe that? And can you say today that you have made a decision on running?
No, I mean I've been saying that all along, that there are things I want to complete, and that may lead. And most likely lead to going for another term. But we got the holidays among us. This is a time when we get to that point where I'll talk to my wife and family and really weigh the options of what to do. But yeah, I've been leaning towards another run, and that's no secret. I've said that repeatedly. So, but we've got time, and then we got another cycle to go through, and the next couple of months we'll.
All right.
Figure that out, and sometime after the first of the year, I'll make the official announcement of what that is.
Manaski has something from a listener piping in, and I have the same. Rick says what the percentage he's talking about is fairly complicated, but if you, he goes on to say that there are classes you can take. That in college classes, it would explain it very, very well face-to-face. However, the shame is, this is Rick's statement, the shame is that if the legislative leaders and city leaders don't understand how this works, that is a real problem.
Well, and they should understand, because this is not something that I invented or put forth in my terms as county executive. This has been practiced in this state for I don't know how many years, and in counties we deal with. We're not. Utica puts out a rate, or Rome or New Hartford, they put out a rate of we're raising taxes at 2%, and across the board those assessments are going to see 2% increases.
Okay, so
we cross, as I said, so many lines that when we say we're not raising taxes, it gets spread out, and it has to go where assessments go down, where value goes down, or where properties come off the tax rolls.
Okay.
If properties come off the tax rolls in one area, another area is going to pick up that difference. It's just the nature of how.
That's how it works. Okay.
How it works.
And I'm not trying to get into a
and
back
they should know that.
I'm not trying to get into a back and forth. This is from Tim Julian, though, this morning. Here's his comment. City of Utica equalization rate did not change from this year to last. He says, why would we go up again over last year? If we have to pay for MVCC, shouldn't we have the mayor and council get to the board and have representation on the county board?
Well, there are first of all, there are members from legislators from Utica on the county board. That's number one. Secondly, the equalization rates, as I see them, are different from 18 to 19. I don't know what he's looking at, but I'd be glad to look at it with him and show him our budget and numbers and all that. And so I don't know what particular rates he's looking at. The rates I've seen and have and dispersed are different from one year to the next.
What I love is that we haven't even figured out, as you said earlier, we haven't figured out the winners yet in this current election officially, and we're already we're already tiptoeing through the tulips of next year, and it gives you a little taste of what's to come.
Yeah, that's expected.
Yeah. All right, Tim. I'm sorry, Tony Pacenti. You and Tim, maybe you could get together and you can explain your point here. We appreciate you coming on this morning.
No problem.
All right.
Good. Be safe out there.
Yep, it is slick. County Executive Tony Pacenti. Lots to do, and we'll get into Syracuse and how they misspelled Boeheim's name. We'll get to it coming up. If you're on this keto diet or a low carbs or no carbs type diet, I brought in and found this at Aldi. I guess it's not Aldi's. At Aldi, it's called Simply Nature Black Soybean Spaghetti. It was black. I thought it'd be kind of cool to put on a dish for colors if you're trying to do something. I'm like that. Anyway, it's really good. And the one interesting part about this is in terms of carbs, a normal dish of pasta will have about 44 grams of carbs. This has about 19. So Can't have pasta on a keto diet. What did you think of it, Manaski?
I'm not even a pasta guy, but that was phenomenal. Now, you said you did some
olive oil, garlic, a little heavy cream, some Parmesan pecorino romano, and salt and pepper.
It was delicious. I mean, I don't.
And by the way, all that stuff is good on the keto diet.
I've been picking at it all morning.
Brandon Lang standing by right now. Week number 11 of the NFL. Were you okay on last night's game?
Over the posted total, my friend.
Okay.
It's set up perfectly. Talked about yesterday on radio being a tight line. I said you could take. I literally said this on my 14 shows yesterday. I said you could buy Green Bay up to 3.5 or take Seattle down to 2.5. I said this just has the feeling of another Seattle 3-point win at home. I said, but these Thursday night games are going over. With that over last night, 8 of 11 of the Thursday night games have gone over. So it's just too quick a turnaround for the defenses to be able to, recouping from Sunday's physical slugfests to get to just be able to play with, intensity for 60 minutes. So
is this the end of the road for McCarthy, you think? I mean, yesterday was pretty brutal as a Packers fan, but their relationship, Rodgers and McCarthy, was, I think, at its worst yesterday, and just his decision-making yet again was just questionable.
You have heard me shred him for years. I've done this show for years. You know you're a Packer fan. You know they've cost me money. You know he's cost me money. I've been open and honest about his decision-making. You can't punt on 4th and 2. You can't.
That much
I don't
time,
care
I know.
who you are, what you think. At some point, the reality is we can't stop the run. You're on your headset. Your defensive coordinator's up there. Be honest with one another. We can't stop their run. We got a better chance of seeing God to come down to the stadium right now with Moses, Jenna Jameson in her prime, and Jesus right now than us stopping them and getting the ball back if we don't go for it on 4th and 2. Go for it. And he punts it away, and there was no way they were going to get the ball back. No way.
And then you don't challenge that clear and, again, he challenges everything else. But when it's an actual legit challenge, maybe because they had to call 2 timeouts early in the third. I don't get it. I just don't get it.
It's time. It's time, and it's hard to make that transition, but and you're wasting. I heard somebody, I can't remember what show said it, just lastly, but they said you're wasting the greatness of Aaron Rodgers. You're wasting it because this is a once-in-a-lifetime talent that's passing through. You got Favre, you got Rodgers. What after this?
Yeah. I want your take as a Bills fan. Bills are off this weekend. Actually, Bills, Miami, New England, Jets, all in bye week this week. Nate, I'd like your take on Nate Peterman, the release of. You kind of felt that had to be coming. The fact that the Bills are announcing they're starting Josh Allen next week and benching Matt Barkley, and your take on Barkley's performance. What do you think?
Well, the pedigree's USC, and that stands for something. Those USC quarterbacks have been pretty rock solid. I don't think Matt Barkley got a fair shake. That's first and foremost. And second of all, you're not going to make the playoffs. I think Barkley's earned himself a job as the backup to Josh Allen. I think that's to me. Obvious, but you got to go back to Josh. You're not going to make the playoffs. Your defense is playing great.
Yeah.
He's your future. That's the smart move. If he's healthy, if he's cleared to play, you get Josh back in there and you get him back in there as soon as possible.
Yeah, McDermott's being criticized for benching, calling it benching Barkley.
Nope.
I think you got to go with your guy. You got to go with your guy.
Yep.
So,
you got to get him as many snaps in game situations as possible going forward. Listen, I've said it. That defense is going to be great for the next few years. They're young. They're talented. They play well. He's got to get up to speed to catch up to that. There's practice experience, but nothing, I stress that, nothing is better than actual game experience and snaps that you got to get.
Manasseh, you had a stat earlier, the Giants stat earlier this morning. The Giants, by the way, are hosting Tampa Bay on Sunday at 1 o'clock. Was that
the stats?
They haven't won 2 games in a row.
Oh, since 2016, we haven't won 2 games in a row. But this weekend is the weekend.
Yeah.
Brandon knows it.
Well, I'll tell you what. The Giants' offense looked pretty good Monday night. I had them Monday night, and the Bucks have no defense. This game's going to go over the posted total. 8 of the last 10 games between the Bucks and their opponents have gone over the posted total. They just play overs, and this one's going to go over as well.
Love to get your opinion on Syracuse Notre Dame tomorrow.
It's Syracuse. It's Syracuse, and I wouldn't be surprised if they shocked the world. I had them last Friday over Louisville. I'm telling you right now that Babers is 9-2, his last 11 as an underdog. But any team, we've watched Clemson run people off the field the whole season. Any team that went into Clemson, I know it was early in the year, and had a fourth quarter lead with 5 minutes to go and probably should have beat them, I will take +10 on a neutral field all day long. Listen, Northwestern had it 24-21 and couldn't get one stop. It was 3rd and 8, 4 minutes to go. That was the play. They couldn't get the stop. Notre Dame went down and got the clinching touchdown with about 1:30 to go. They might lose this game outright. And I love Dungy, and I love this offense. And they got playmakers, but they got a great D-line. Give me Syracuse plus the points.
And you do say a neutral field, but I mean, I gotta say, I think it's going to be favored Syracuse a little bit because
not according to
I do too.
Not according to
I do too, based on where they're at. And,
not according to preliminary, based on what people are saying on ticket sales, that Syracuse Notre Dame fans will outnumber Syracuse fans. But either way, we could call it neutral, right? I guess.
Irish 5-8. Last 13 regular season games against the spread.
Okay. All right. Before you do any betting, any of that extracurricular activity, the place to go is BrandonLang.com. And one final note, Brandon, what's going on? Why is there not legalized betting in New York State right now? We thought it would be underway, at least at the United Indian Nation, by the start of the season or somewhere into the first couple of weeks, but we're not seeing it.
I said 3 years to iron out the legislation for the OBT, the
off-track betting, yeah,
or
off-track betting. They got to pass individual legislation. That's going to take time. It'll get there, but I said 3 years. 3 years to iron everything out and get everybody up to speed. It's going to happen. They'll drag their feet. Joey 5 Dimes has got to pay off Louie Knuckles. Louie Knuckles has got to go coach Joey, Joey Bag of Donuts. They all got to pay each other off and underneath the table and get all that ironed out, and then we'll be fine.
All right. BrandonLang.com. Thanks, man.
All
right. Have a great weekend. We'll break. Come back. Coming up, Chuck Lester and Alien. He's on the Village of Alien board. He said, and I want to quote this because this is pretty big. He said he has news that is going to, how did he word it?
His quote was, I got 2.5 million reasons why you might want to call me tomorrow.
Okay. Well, he's coming up. We'll get to that. Also, more comments on the county executive, on Bill Morehouse. Bill Morehouse has piped back in after Anthony Picenti was on. We'll give you a little of that. Coming up at WIBX. Congress in the 22nd Congressional District. Anthony Brindisi with more big news. This coming out of Madison, but Jim Zecca is piping in.
Yeah, so he's saying that a lot of those are from Colgate University absentee ballots, but the problem with that is that if a Colgate University student was voting on an absentee ballot, they're most likely, unless they're from this district, are not voting for Claudia Tenney or Anthony Brindisi.
No, they're voting
for whoever's in their home district.
Right.
When I went to Lemoyne and I got my absentee ballot, I was still voting for Utica area races.
It is possible to get people to register and say that this is their residence.
To say that there was Colgate University students is one thing, but to say it's their absentee ballots is not.
Jim, I got to tell you something. Brindisi's kicking your tail on this ground game. And, here's philosophy one. We're going to bring in Trump. We're going to bring in Paul Ryan. We're going to bring in all the big names. And then on the other side, Brindisi brought no one in. He brought Bowser in from Sha-Na-Na. But what he did do is his homework. That campaign hit the ground, and they did an old-fashioned, hard-working ground game. They knocked on doors. They called. They had postcards. I got to tell you something. Claudia Tenney won Madison County on election night. You know the rule, Jim.
Decent margin.
The rule is this. The absentee ballots tend to go the way of election night. It's not going to change that much. The problem for Claudia Tenney is it is changing, but in the wrong direction. In Cortland, Brindisi should have picked up about 97 extra votes based on the ratio from election night. And they picked up almost 300, going in the wrong direction. Madison County, a complete upset. Claudia Tenney should have gained votes on Madison County in the absentee ballots. But guess what? It didn't happen. Brindisi picks up 300. This path is getting more and more narrow for Claudia Tenney to retain the seat.
So just to give you...
I'm going to tell you something. The path right now is looking a bit claustrophobic, even if you were a mouse. To fit down this little path, it's getting narrow. It's getting narrow.
To give
You're
you an
going
idea,
in the wrong direction, Jim. I just, lay low. That's what I do.
So I'm rounding here, but on election night, the results came in. 52 of 52 precincts in Madison County had Claudia Tenney beating Brindisi 50.97% to 47.68%.
Which, by the way, I thought that was close.
Huge margin.
I was very surprised that Madison was as close as it was. I thought Claudia Tenney would have had a bigger win there. Either way, but now she's down by 1,800 votes. We're going in. If you're Claudia Tenney, if you're on her team, Jim, which I know you are vehemently, it's going in the wrong direction. Go back to Trump. He's got another 2 years. Stay focused on Trump. That's what I would do. Lynn High is with the Food Bank of Central New York. She's on to talk politics. Just kidding. We're up into that time of year, and it's funny because we should be thinking about the Central New York, the Food Bank of Central New York, and charities and doing the right thing all year long. But it does seem around Thanksgiving we put focus on it because we're thinking about how much food we're going to have on Thanksgiving Day and how much or how little others have. So here we are.
Yeah. Hi. Good morning.
Good morning. So you're doing what is called, am I correct in saying this is a Stick a Fork in Hunger event, and it's coming up in New Hartford?
Yes, it's coming up in New Hartford tomorrow at the Price Chopper in New Hartford. We'll be there from 8 until 4 and inviting people to make monetary or non-perishable food donations to the food bank. We serve 11 counties, including Oneida and Herkimer counties.
Tomorrow, Ed Welsh from WIBX's Auto Talk will be broadcasting live from over at the Price Chopper in New Hartford. That'll be a
8
regular
to 10 tomorrow.
8 to 10 tomorrow morning.
We're extending his show an hour because he'll be on for the full 2 hours. So 8 to 10 tomorrow. I'll be there as well. But in our town square stations, will be there all day collecting donations for the Food Bank of Central New York.
What do you need, Len?
So, when you're talking about non-perishable foods, the things that everybody thinks of are things that we need. Pastas, pasta sauces, cereals, oatmeals, things for children and families to eat. Monetary donations are always fantastic because we use those monetary donations to access food. So it's not just the non-perishable foods then. We can get into meats. We can get into dairy items. We can get into fresh produce and get those really expensive but really healthy foods into people's diets and into the hands of people that are stretching their food dollars.
You get a better deal, too, when you guys buy it.
That's correct, because we're not buying individual cans or even a case. We're buying truckloads of food when we're buying. And it also helps us access exactly, and it helps us access donations too. We're out and we're working with Price Chopper and we're working with Hannaford and Target and Walmart, and we're getting food from these store locations as well. That food that they're going to throw out, that they're turning at the end of the night, our trucks are there and we're picking it up and we're distributing it that same day so that we can get it into the hands of people that need. And that's where your dollars help when you're supporting Food Bank of Central New York.
I know there's been a lot of study done on the fact that if those that are impoverished tend to eat foods that are less healthy. How much of an emphasis is there on that, and what numbers do you guys look at here in Central New York?
You know what, we every few years we go out and we do a study every few years with the people that are accessing the Emergency Food Network, because those people change. And we're trying to find out what their food preferences are. Their food preferences are always fresh produce, dairy products, meats, the expensive things at the store, the most, but they're often the things that they can't afford to buy, because when you're stretching your food dollars and when you look at food prices, the foods that aren't as good for you to eat tend to be the cheaper foods in the store.
Yeah.
So when you're trying to stock your cupboards and feed your family, sometimes nutrition has to be ignored so that you can have enough food just to eat.
Well, that makes it easy too to just hit that drive-through, or have something quick and unhealthy. That
All
way
right,
too.
this is tomorrow, and will be Ed Welch will be on the air tomorrow. WIBX will be there over at the Price Chopper in New Hartford. Come on out and give. They call it Stick a Fork in Hunger, an event at the New Hartford Price Chopper.
And again, we're asking for monetary donations, and there is a perception, or there has been in the past, Food Bank of CNY is a Syracuse thing. It's not a local thing. It's not Oneida, Herkimer, Madison counties, but it is. Can you talk about that?
Sure. So we are. Our distribution center is based in Syracuse, but our trucks are on the road every single day, and we cover 11 counties. We actually go up to Messina, the Canadian border, all the way out to Herkimer County in your area, and, dozens and dozens of programs in each of those counties. They're getting food from the food bank on a sometimes daily basis, weekly basis. Our mobile food pantries there, we're offering all sorts of different services, nutrition education. People from the food bank are in your counties more than you know. And we just want you to know that we're here, and we want to support the people that live in Oneida County, that live in Herkimer County, and get healthy, nutritious food into their mouths so that they can lead fantastic lives.
Yeah. Pardon the pun, you guys are a feeder for a lot of the organizations that do feed the needy in our community.
No doubt about it.
No pun at all. That is exactly right.
All right, Lynn, thanks so much. And, you think about this time of year, you think about the elderly, you think about the children that go without. I mean, those two groups alone, veterans, enough to inspire you to get out there tomorrow. So good luck, and we thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. Have a great day, and happy holidays to you guys.
We'll see you tomorrow.
That's tomorrow
All right,
over at
thanks.
the Price Chopper in New Hartford. We will break. Coming up, I have Black Friday specials on the local side. There are local businesses that have Black Friday specials, and I'm going to blow them out. Now, I've been told, do not read these until Monday. Screw that. Let's get them out there. I'll do it coming up. Also, down in the valley, 1.5 million. What is this? Some sort of a tease out of Chuck Lester?
I have no specifics. There's 1.2 million reasons, 1.5 million reasons.
He's got something big he wants to talk about. Hopefully, it involves H2O. We'll get to it coming up at WIBX. Chuck Lester standing by right now from the village of Ilion. He's on the town board there. And
village board.
The village board. I'm sorry. I apologize. He's on the village board in the village of, there is no town of Ilion, is there?
No.
No, German Flats. All right, Chuck, you have big news.
Yeah, I got a call as I was going into the paint store yesterday, Urbanics, from the mayor, and he asked me if I was sitting down, and I said no, but go ahead and tell me the bad news anyway. And he said, it's not bad news, it's good news. We got a $2.5 million grant sent down through the governor's office, and the first reaction of me was, holy cow, this is going to fund that transmission line for us.
Mm-hmm.
But there might be a little misunderstanding there, because the way, if you look at the governor's website, it lists this with a clean water, drinking water type of funding. And in all actuality, this may be the second phase of a sewer project that's ongoing in the village too. So, yes, we're happy that we're getting the $2.5 million, but we might actually see if we can't redirect the money to the transmission line, which at this time is more important.
Yeah, your water issues, it's got to take
especially
priority.
The sewer stuff that's been going on, they've been doing a camera work and all that.
Yep.
And so that, I'm not saying it's not important. Please, I don't want anybody to misunderstand that. But obviously, the drinking water, in my mind, is a little bit more of a priority item.
Well,
so
probably in the minds
we won't want to stop on the sewer project, but if we can redirect that money for the water project, the drinking water project, that might be a better avenue or a better use for the grant.
And that's 2.5 million you're talking about?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Okay.
And like I said, I about jumped out of my skin when Brian told me that. It was just, it's very satisfying. And Mark Piccaro, I think his name is, from the governor's office, he actually said that, I've been pounding the people that the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and he says because of what we've been doing. that we've been the squeaky wheel and now we're getting a little greased.
Well, listen, I don't want to be the snowstorm on your parade, Chuck, but didn't you indicate that maybe this is the second installment of funding for a previous project?
It very well could be, but I haven't got any clarification on that yet because actually it was the governor's office that called the mayor and told him it was for drinking water.
Oh.
I may be misspeaking, but if you look at the website, it's some big long WW. It's a News Governor Como awards more than 25 million grants, water infrastructure improvements, Mohawk Valley, and as it's listed, it says drinking water.
All right.
So I think that might be where the misinterpretation is coming from.
Well, and that is
so
critical.
I'm not going to kick a gift horse in the mouth if it's $2.5 million.
Yeah.
And we put it to good use at some point.
Yeah.
And if it is the continuation, the grant was probably applied for earlier this year, either at the outgoing administration or the incoming administration.
Okay.
So
right.
I'm not going to. If it was the previous administration, thank you very much. I appreciate your efforts. If it was done when we applied for it, then great, we got it. So
either way,
it's a boon for the village.
No doubt about it. All right. Well, congratulations on that, Chuck. We appreciate the update.
Can I give you one more little thing real quick here?
Sure.
It's we just went by Veterans Day. Tomorrow night, or actually tonight, at 7 p.m. in the Village Hall, the Memorial Hall, where all the Ilion, well, not all, but any resident of Ilion that served in any branch of the military at any time can have their name, and we're adding, I think, 17, 18 names tonight. We're going to do that at 7 o'clock tonight. So anybody wants to come down and honor some vets with us, feel free to attend.
Very cool. All right, Chuck, thanks so much. Enjoy the weekend.
Bill, thank you.
All right, good news for the residents of the village of Ilion. I have someone in here reporting this morning that they have figured out the debacle, the mess-up. I wouldn't call it a debacle. It's not a debacle. The goofy little mess-up where they spelled Jim Boeheim's son's name wrong. Can't you look on the court? Isn't Boeheim's name right on the court? And Sarah says, no one spells it wrong in Syracuse. It's on the court, for God's sake. Maybe spelling Boeheim wrong was a PR stunt, or more likely a foreign student working in the athletic ordering office and kind of messed it up. Maybe it is a PR stunt.
Why?
Because it gets everybody to talk about it. Everybody's talking about it. Here's a story, national story right here.
Well, guess what? Everyone's talking about the fact that Syracuse lost
They got
to
beat.
UConn last night.
That's going to hurt even more. Syracuse playing a game in New York City against UConn when the announcer noticed one of the jerseys had a misspelled name on it. The jersey said Boheim, missing an E. It should be Boeheim.
Yeah, it's almost
Boeheim gets fouled. They don't even spell the coach's kid's name correctly on the back. Look at that. There's an E in there. Buddy Boeheim. Oh, my gosh. How about that? The coach's kid.
I totally agree that it's a stunt.
No, it's not.
What? Are you telling me Buddy Boeheim wouldn't realize his jersey was misspelled and he just put it on?
No, he 100% realized, but
he just put it
once the jersey's
there
delivered to you at the game, it's not like you can say, make me a new one.
Listen, I'm going to reach into my pocket.
They don't ever get the
I'm reaching
names
into
wrong.
my pocket right now.
They got the roster.
What is this?
It's a black marker.
It's a Sharpie.
Yeah.
Okay? Everybody's got one.
Oh, that would have looked better.
That's what I would have done.
It would have made international news if they wrote the E out.
I would have written the E in it.
Syracuse athletics struggling financially. They had to use a marker.
They
for one
couldn't.
of
They're
their
in
letters.
New York City, the city that never sleeps. You couldn't find anything brighter to come in and fix that mess? Really?
Or there's an
Really?
equipment manager that has been demoted this over
What's the phrase that's now considered racist? See you long time no see.
Long time no see.
Long time no see.
Long time no see in that jersey.
Long time no see. Apparently that's some Asian disparaging. Terrible.
Because of the broken English thing. You know what's actually going on here, I think, is that Buddy Boeheim's rebelling a little bit. You're not my father!
Yeah.
I'm not my father.
There's a new teddy bear out there called Trumpy Bear.
Let me guess. It's got long blonde hair and it's kind of orange.
It has a blonde comb-over, a white collar, a red tie, and a secret pocket for an American flag blanket. The commercial is so over the top.
Trumpy Bear. Wait. Our Zecca crew brought Trumpy Bear in before.
Well, they're really advertising it now. Listen. The commercial's like 2 minutes long.
How big is the bear that you're going to pull you think I'm going to pull a blanket that's going to cover me out of a bear's
pocket? No, it's
pocket?
probably like one of these little that you often see with like a team logo on it. It's probably 5 foot by 4 foot, something like that.
Next week, be listening. We're going to be giving away Dennis Miller, Mark Stein tickets. Deplorable Tour, Syracuse On Center, February 23rd. Also, free money question next week. It's Friday. We're heading out. I'm getting done. What, do you want me to do more? I can't.
Just one more thing.
I don't have a single thing left in me.
This is a huge tour. Dennis Miller, obviously, who is or was on Fox News all the time, but a nationally known comedian. And Mark Stein, who is on the conservative talk circuit, who, in fact, is filling in for Rush today.
Yeah, be really cool.